Good morning, good morning, good morning. Lovely to see everyone. And I brewed my beautiful little Greek coffee, which is the same as Turkish coffee, which is the same as Arabic coffee, which is the same as Tajikistani coffee. And I have been learning how to brew this. And there it is, my friends. Oh, and that smell is just wonderful. Ah. And there is our friend Tu Bokut. Kherete, Kalispera, Kalimera, Kalinichta to everybody. And that's our little bit of sugar. And here's my apple for when we're done. And now we stir this bad boy. And now, my friends, we look at the beautiful sun. Yashure Kalimera, Kalimera, everybody. Isn't that a gorgeous sun? And now, as they like to say over in your part of the world, grab your coffee. You ordered a copy of the book. Scott? I was going to say I like you even more, but I don't think that's possible. Oh, man. Now that's how you make the coffee. I'm just trying to see if I can see you bastards. I can't see anything. Greek coffee. Are you a racist? Fun guy opens the day with the best line. Coffee talk. Yeah. So, it was a friend of mine who many years ago he suffered third-degree burns all over his body. He was caught in a house fire that, according to the official stories, was actually started by his own father. Now, I don't know the full story, but I've come to learn that humans don't really tell you the full story about things. I think I'm the only one. And speaking of that, I can't tell you the full story. Anyway, he survived. And it's amazing. You'd think someone like that would become suicidal or want to kill everybody. Yeah. And he was only in his early 20s, so he lost his fingers, he lost all hair on his body. He's lost, you wouldn't be able to recognize what he ever looked like before. He lost his eyelashes, he lost his, probably most of his genitals, I'm guessing. Based on some conversations, he lost, his feet, just the whole thing. And anyway, I met this person, and my job was to look after him financially, but clearly I was pathetic, which is a whole other story. Anywho, of course, being misunderstood, I started getting death threats from his brother, which was very bizarre. And giving me death threats is not really going to have the reaction that one usually expects. In fact, I sort of retaliate 10 times as hard. That's what I do. I think anyone who grew up with a minority complex just does not take crap from anyone. Anywho, so that was a disaster. Anyway, a few months later, they tried again to talk to me. So then I went to their place, and it's interesting being in the house of a very strict Sunni Muslim family. It was a very bizarre situation. It's sort of someone who's spent years studying Islam and practicing Islam. It's surreal because you know what to expect, but then when you see it, it's like you've been reading a book and then the characters come to life. These episodes are now all going to be sponsored by xlibris.com Speaking Human. Go to Google, type in xlibris.com Speaking Human, or go to the Facebook page and the Gab Smacked and click on the link. Get the ebook for like, I think it's $4 or $5, and stay up all night and read that bitch. So where is here? Yeah, I was unable to ever help this person, and it breaks my heart because that was my job. My job was to try and give him a better life, and I hadn't, that's all I wanted, and that's all I ever wanted, and it's the worst thing when it slips from your grasp. Oh, merda. I missed Auntie last night. Yeah, you missed Auntie in the interview. Ah, Tommy. I think Auntie would love to make you some tea, Tommy. I think you guys would get along famously. So we have a new character coming. Yeah, it was large, but unfortunately the world and thought of me as a different person back then. She'd poison your tea. You know that? You know what's funny? She might actually do that. On top of my Periscope screen. Guy with a mask? Okay. I don't know. That could... Who knows? Maybe there's a Periscope ghost. You never know. Is timing off, or are you doing an interview today? I am. Good question. Are you going to heaven or hell? Well, the question makes no sense. After your last breath. Well, then it wouldn't be your last breath, would it? Cartoon figure. Oh, that's weird. Oh, well, maybe someone's hacked my Periscope and sending out stuff. There's a puppet store in your town. What's that called? The local politician? Too good. Too good. Anywho, so there's nothing I've been able to do. Do you believe in Jesus Christ? I don't work on belief. Just like Thomas. Thomas, without seeing the wounds, until he saw the wounds, it was only then when he knelt down, hey, and said, "My Lord and my God." My Lord, my God. That's what he said. If it was me and I saw the wounds, I would say, man, that's amazing stuff. Teach me how you faked your death. Anywho. That we will go to war with North Korea. I think that the chance is less than it would have been 8 years ago. But humans don't think four-dimensionally. Any thought on ancient, advanced, highly civilizations? I gave a lecture on a highly advanced civilization in Papua New Guinea, and I gave it a few hours ago, 8 hours ago on Gabversity. So if you want to have a look, that was actually quite phenomenal. That's got to take inhuman resilience. Yeah, so his name is Ahmed. I won't give you, obviously, his last name. Historic. Papua New Guinea. Oh, well, I did one before that, which was the Mayan civilization. And before that, I did the Anasazi. I'm not into conspiracies. I like them. They sound good, but I know I'm boring when it comes to that. Oh, you saw that? Oh, cool. Yeah. Conspiracies. I like the idea of conspiracies, but, conspiracies are really just speculation. Yeah. No, I mean, there's nothing that I've seen in there that can't be explained, I guess, by a brilliant people that were unbelievably industrious. See, one of the things as Europeans, hell is a real place. I agree with you. I've been there many times. Do you share Elon Musk's opinion that it would do more harm? I saw many comparisons to civilization decline of it Mayan. Yes, that's exactly right. Actually, I wrote that I wrote that last night in my mini thesis. The only one I think is true is 9/11. It could be. Sorry, there's like 10 questions here right now. I'm going to ignore all of them. They're all really good, but I have to answer to Bokut, one of my top people. Yes, this guy went through hell. Living in a dark, depressive state when you're all alone. Yeah, absolutely. Artificial intelligence. I'm going to hold on to the AI for a sec. Artificial intelligence will take over. I think humans will be eradicated. That's my view. But I also think we'll integrate with them. There's no other way around it. It's already happening. With artificial intelligence, it's already happening. We're all talking on Periscope. Many of our homes are regulated by artificial intelligence. My whole life, like most people, is regulated through their phone. My ability to do mathematics is infinitely more powerful because I've integrated my mind with artificial intelligence. Obviously not physically, but I keep my I use software programs that help me integrate equations way more quickly than I would on my own because I can check them. Now, to answer to Bokut, I can't imagine what this guy's going through. But what's interesting is that some people in his family want to play the victim deliberately. And what's interesting is that once they realized that I had nothing, because they initially thought, just like what you'd expect from a conspiracy theorist, they thought that I was some sort of genius who was able to, pretend not to know how to be in finance and then somehow have all this stash of money hidden somewhere in Lebanon. And I just thought, wow, I didn't even think that was possible. So I have to give my hats off to them, my hats off, all of my hats, to them for even coming up with such an idea, which I just thought was very creative, very creative. Anyway, it's now been 5 years in my 5 years exile, which will be the second book. And I'm pretty sure they have now realized, just like Americans are starting to realize that, Trump is not working with Russians. That was a conspiracy. He's just a regular asshole with a lot of money. That's, I think both sides agree on that. What was I going to say? Now they don't talk to me as much because they can't yistafidu. What's that in English? Benefit. They can't benefit from me financially, so they don't talk to me that much. Let's see what I've missed. I'm a child of God. God bless. If you are a child of God, that's fantastic. And now, after we finish our coffee, we have our apple. So, are you from South Africa? Possibly in a past life. I do get asked that quite a fair bit. Actually, yeah. I should make up a new character. I'm from South Africa. I am 5% native and 95% native, eh? They mistook your brilliance for monetary wealth. I'd rather the brains. Something like that, yeah. Seems to be the way it went. These apples are amazing. Who, darling? I can see why Adam said yes to Eve, huh? We had a guy behind us. What part of Africa did you come from? The part where everyone has big dicks, my friend. What's my favorite gun? Hey, hey, hey. Slim Grady, great call with Simon. Sorry, by the way, if anyone, that's actually not my joke. There is a troll that comes onto my Gabversity channel, and every topic we talk about, his answer is big ass dicks. And I've always kept him on as a troll because he's just hilarious. By no means enter heaven. I feel like this is a problem I've had with that version of religion. You're eating brain food, yeah. The idea that the end goal is to enter paradise, I just think is the worst reason to do anything. I want to do good for the sake of goodness itself, not because I'm promised any sort of afterlife. And to me, afterlife sounds like a living hell. Don't harass people with babble. Pompous is never happy. Just admit you don't believe. Yeah, I think lack of belief is a virtue. I know that in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, happy are those who see and happy are those who don't see and yet still believe. I have to disagree with that. Is there free will? There is no such thing as free will. There is no scientific evidence at all for free will. No, don't be silly. Oh, now you're getting down on yourself, Kevro. Your presence, most Christians are only good because they are bad equals big ass. You know, we're going to have a new character who just says big ass dick to everything. Kevro, if you leave, I will be pissed, man. You better stay. I love everyone, man. I love all you. I love all the opinions. Nah, ruin my scope. You would ruin it if you left, my friend. So if someone believes it's for God, that's great. You know, if you believe it's for God, or you believe it's for Allah, or you believe it's for pajamas, that is actually not a religious viewpoint. That is an ideological viewpoint. That's different. So I have to be very clear about this. My comment is to the person who has an ideological viewpoint of Christianity, as opposed to those who have a spiritual and religious viewpoint. Yeah, like for example, so Unique Blessing seems like a lovely person, but they are from the outside a victim of ideology. Now, ideology is different to religion. Ideology is a slice or a subset of religion. So religion incorporates unbelievable amount of history and thought. Yeah, and so you could say God is energy, someone else could say God is a superior being, someone else could say God is a spirit. None of that means anything, because it could all be true, it could all be false. They could be true in different percentage weightings. No one knows. Foolish man. You see, my view, and this is how you can tell, because when Unique Blessing starts insulting you, you know that is not actually inherent to the New Testament. Jesus, that we know in the New Testament, never insulted people for not believing. He said, dust, take the, what do you get the dust off your feet and walk out of the town. The only people he insulted were people like the Pharisees, who were money-hungry pieces of shit, and he called them snakes and sons of snakes, right? So that's how you know that someone is not using their own mind. They're ideologically possessed, like Unique Blessing. That doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just shows you that ideology can turn people into doing whatever the ideology wants them to do. Yeah, so it's fine. I mean, and none of that helps us on this planet. Yeah. The Bible is a good guide to see what not to do and what to do, I guess. I enjoy them every time I catch them. That's awesome. Thanks, Slim Grady. Go to catch the fish before you clean it. I'm handsome. Oh wow. Thank you, his lady. How did your friend lose his fingers? He was asleep. And to me, I reckon there must have been drugs involved. But he was a teenager and asleep. And his father shot the house, thinking that he was confined. You don't have to be confined. You can be inspired by them. You can absolutely be inspired by Christian texts and Islamic texts and Hebrew texts and Zoroastrian texts and Buddhist texts. But you don't have to be confined by them. That's the difference here. And the father shot the gas tank and the house went on fire. And they didn't know that he was in there, and he was basically burnt almost to death. So he looks like charcoal, right? And it's very bizarre because, and once again, he's one of the first ever Muslims that I really developed a deep bond with, like as another human being, and I really like him. And what's interesting is that he is so uneducated, which I never knew until now. Yeah, you think that's the tragedy. There's worse tragedies than that happened to him. All the money he was supposed to get was stolen by the lawyers. And then the last bit that he got left was entrusted to me and my company. And I would never want to harm a hair on anyone's head, especially those I cared about the most. And when my company collapsed, my friends, that caused a depression that I wish no one has to go through. And to know that I could do nothing to help them, and 5 years later I'm still sitting here knowing I can't help them. That is something that's, to use Cain's words in the Old Testament after killing Abel, it's a punishment beyond what I can bear. Am I in Australia? I'm in Australia. Does your knee grow? Oh, thank you very much. I've never heard it called a top knot before. Interesting. So, about Trump and North Korea. This is what's going to happen. Thank you. I think you're the first person to ever say that to Boku. Thank you, man. I know it's not on me. I went through a lot of therapy for this and for other things. Yeah, so about North Korea, this is what's going to happen, right? Shit's going to go down. There's no question shit's going to go down. Rise and fall of civilizations. That's awesome. Ah, that's why I'm pretty sure I saw you on Gavversity when we were talking about one of the civilizations, eh? Pretty sure I remember that now. Oh, man. Yeah. Are they in the coffee? I love how the bots are learning. Talk about artificial intelligence. The bots are now copying other people and then retweeting, re-messaging. That's hilarious. Yeah. Myers-Briggs personality test. Someone asked me that before. I love those. I love all those personality tests. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So let me block these chats for a sec. Shit's going to go down. Shit is going to go down. Now, what's going to happen is, once again, we're going to have two versions of reality. We're going to have those who are going to think it's Trump's fault because he's trigger happy, which is unbelievably false. Unbelievably false. It's a delusion to think that, and that's going to trigger people. And by the way, I am in no way a Trump supporter at all. But to speak objectively and looking at humans as if they're just advanced monkeys, that's how I try to look at things. And I still could be wrong, of course. But I've been following this for 3 years now. Anyway. And then the other people are going to say it was Obama who did nothing. And because of Obama's weakness, it led to this point. So those are the two worlds. And that will be history. The thing is, he had to do. I don't look at it as in. I don't look at it that way at all. If you step back, just like when we look at past civilizations, we look at them like a remote people. We look at them how, oh, look at this happened, and we sort of step back emotionally. I try to do that with our current civilization. And I see them as all players on a 4D stage. I try to. I mean, obviously you're going to get emotional, obviously, but you try to always remember that this is just another civilization like the rest. In fact, a lot less advanced in many ways. It was exactly as you would expect it. Same place as yeah. It was exactly as we expected, that each successive leader would try a bit more with North Korea. They would try negotiating, they would try sanctions, they would try negotiating with other parties, they would try a little bit of force here and there, a little bit of threats. They would keep trying that, and every single one would fail until we reached a leader that was willing to take the next step. And that step happens to be the step that would be successful. We do. We do. So, have we reached that point? We don't know. So, for example, if Trump does not reach that point, so if the step Trump takes does not reach a point that ends North Korea, then it'll come with the next iteration of presidency. China always wants to kick America's ass. How do I know this? Because every country wants to kick America's ass. The only difference is China very soon will be able to do so. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact, other civilizations lasted so much longer. And we now learn our agricultural science from places like Papua New Guinea, which I spoke about yesterday. It's completely natural. Why? There is a saying I heard from Feinstein yesterday on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I've always said this, but he said it in a way 1,000 times better than what I've said it. He said that the end game of prosperity is tyranny. The end game of prosperity is tyranny. And that is exactly what I've been saying since you guys have met me, but he just did it in a 1,000 times better way. That is so true. Julius Caesar said that. Feinstein said that. And the Gab Smack said that. I said it in the worst way out of all those three by far. But Feinstein, for example, knew that, well, we've always been heading towards globalization, right? I mean, we started in tribes, and those tribes grew and grew and grew into what we thought was the globe, right? We've always been tending into what we think is the globe. But let me suggest something to you. I suggest that globalization is an illusion. And I'll tell you why I think globalization is an illusion. I think globalization is an illusion because we assume that we're going to stay on this globe only. Think about that. Now I'm going to give you an example. I'll give you one example. Right at the beginning of civilization, right? Yeah. Right at the beginning of civilization, we had the Sumerians and the Akkadians. And the world that they knew was a small region around that, which they thought was the world, right? And ultimately, I don't know the exact details, I don't think anyone knows, but ultimately, they formed a global empire. So they united and became what you'd call a globalist type of empire. But what happened was, as they became bigger, we realized the earth was even bigger than what we thought it was. And there were other empires too. And then they coalesced and became bigger and bigger. And then the biggest empires were fighting each other. So I don't see that would be any different now. I think that we are forming bigger and bigger empires, right? And then there'll be some sort of global type of thing, which is already happening because a lot of us are in different countries at the moment and we're talking as if we're best friends, right? And as soon as we get something called a global state, then there'll be planetary states, yeah? And then we'll talk about planetarianism instead of globalism, planetism, you know, and then it'll be solar systems versus solar systems. I don't see that being any different. ISIS. Yeah, you'll get one planet that's ISIS. Yeah. There aren't many civilizations that were self-sustaining around the world. I read about two of them last night. One was Papua New Guinea, which sustained itself for 46,000 years, which is just unbelievable. I can't even conceive of that number. Any chance for a new peaceful world order before World War III? No. Humans aren't designed to live in peace. See, already we're claiming Mars for the atheists. You know what would happen, right? You know what would happen? The atheists will start killing each other. Because some atheists will be anti-theist, and some atheists will be tolerant of religion. Some atheists will be spiritual. Some will be against spirituality at all. And then they'll fractionate over time and start killing each other. This is humanity, my friends. Lord of the Flies, exactly. Anyway, that was a great coffee. I'm going to go now to Gabversity and do some mathematics. And don't forget xlibris.com. Download the book Speaking Human audiobook. And I've got a massive radio interview coming up. And tonight, in 9 hours time, I will be interviewing a guy who I try to be. I'm interviewing a guy from the head of the Arameans and the Aramaics and the Syriacs, who are the original inhabitants of the Middle East, where ISIS now lives. Wouldn't take debit card. That's weird. You should do it through PayPal, or you can order it. Go to paypal.me/Gabsmacked and send me your address, and I will shoot you a copy of the book and just pay for the book, and I'll just buy one and send it to you. Yeah, I'm going to interview this guy about what life is like for his people underneath ISIS, controlled territory, and it's going to be crazy stuff. I can't wait to talk to him in 9 hours. So, all the best, guys. Love you all.